What's going on, everybody? Welcome to your weekly astrology forecast for the week of May 24th through the 29th of 2022. Astrologer Brian Scarborough here, Fixed Air Moon, keeping the collective fixed on astrology. A little bit of a shorter week since I'm doing this on Tuesday, but I appreciate the patience and I hope everybody's doing well. What a week that we have this week. We get to see some big ingresses. I kind of called this show like Domicile Ingresses. You know, we were going to have Venus later in the week ingressing into Taurus, where it's at home in domicile. But really, tonight, this Tuesday evening, the big daddy of them all is, in my opinion, Mars coming to zero Aries to its domicile with the moon. Extremely rare to get the moon just an hour before ingressing in to Aries and crossing over Mars at 29 Pisces. So Mars is finishing this Piscean transit, and where we can feel a little lost. There could have been a lot of our own escaping, especially dealing with Neptune energy. A lot of confusion. Everything's kind of like coming out. And a lot of this is coming from the eclipses we just had, the solar eclipse at 10 degrees of Taurus and the lunar eclipse at 25 degrees of Scorpio. But, it was especially that lunar eclipse that really brought everything out. It brought everything up, all the dark stuff, all the stuff we haven't wanted to see or identify with. It brought it up, and now we're at this point collectively and in our own personal lives where, it's cutting to the bone, if you will, about where these stories are going. Jupiter's in Aries. Mars and Jupiter are going to build up to their conjunction all week. So there's you can't, there's no two ways around it. There's a lot of big things starting in our lives. And especially tonight with the moon coming in and then Mars coming in, we're all going to feel this in our personal lives. It's crazy to have so much action at zero Aries, one after another. Jupiter just came here a week ago, a little bit more, but 2 weeks. It's wild. And Uranus is right there, coming to 16 degrees of Taurus in semi-square to all this energy, making it tense, making a lot of unpredictable shifts within values take place. And it's trying to accelerate us, but it's like, we have to be willing to hit the gas pedal and accelerate with it. And there's other factors playing in that are making that like more of a, it's more pronounced, especially this week. This is the final full week we get of Saturn direct. It's getting ready to station at 25 Aquarius. It'll station on June 4th. And Mercury will turn direct June 3rd. So it's so interesting too, because we're at this place where we're seeing like on-off energy. We're seeing like where our mind's ready to go forward again. And Saturn saying, you should have been going forward this whole time into your future and into the right connections and dealing with society and not hiding away. All this Piscean energy, we could have been very like hidden. I'm going to hide away from things, or I don't want to look, or not pay attention, or I'm just going to be in a fantasy. Well, the numbing, the fantasy, the drug, if you will, is fully wearing off now. And, this whole time Saturn was saying, hey, you better be moving forward. You better be moving forward. And now we have to go into summer school, if you will, coming up June 4th, of realizing where we didn't go forward enough and where we didn't objectively look at our lives and look at the people in our lives and society with acute awareness or an objective awareness of where things are going, because things are going to start happening fast. We are in Gemini season, of course, and this is where things start changing. This is the first mutable sign of the zodiac. It's ready for change. And especially, with Mars leaving Pisces and coming into Aries, like, you got to be willing to start the changes in your life, because they're going to start coming quick, and they're going to be powerful, and they're going to be intense, and they're going to be heavy, and it can make people angry. And people could start to, especially with Chiron in Aries, people cannot want to take the responsibility They could want to put it on something else, on the world. And this is where we have to get back to our own personal life here. Be like, oh, it was actually me. I didn't step up here. And I would say that Mars in Aries is going to help us step up. I mean, someone showed me something. It was another astrologer said about the hero's journey is going to be Mars in Aries. And I wish I could give that astrologer credit, but I don't remember who said it, and I didn't see it myself. And I mean, I like that. That's a good analogy. I would call it more the warrior's journey. What's a hero these days anyways? I don't know what a hero is, but I get where that's going. But it's the warrior's journey. You're going to have to step up and be a warrior here to cut through. And that's where even the sun coming to Aldebaran by the end of the week, getting ready for a new moon in Gemini that'll be at 9 degrees with Aldebaran. And especially in all of our charts, we were born with Aldebaran at 9 degrees. It's now at 10, but it's in opposition to Antares, the big red giant, at now 10. But when we were all born at 9 degrees of Sagittarius. So it's a major, in a lot of ways, that new moon's going to be Monday, not this week, or when I'm doing this weekly presentation. But when I come back Monday to go live again for the weekly, that's when we're going to have this new moon. It's a big pull to the light, to the Pleiades, where we just had the sun traverse, where Mercury retrograde, Cazimi'd with the sun at 0 Gemini. And this is if you're looking at Vedic astrology, this is in the nakshatra of Kritika, which is, it's critical in Kritika. It's sharp. This is dealing with puncturing. This is dealing with cuts. This is dealing with precision. It's also, sharp intellect. So, we're all going to have to step up our mental game, especially with Mercury getting ready to station and come direct, but it's also trining Pluto this week. We got to dig deep here, knowing our worth, seeing where things can go, and being sharp about what value is in life and what the quality of our life is going to be, and how to really comfort ourselves and make ourselves feel strong and powerful, and not just passive, and not just like, I'm just going to let things slide. We're no longer in that. Like, the numbing's fully off. Like, we're out of Pisces big time with Mars leaving. I mean, it's just Neptune at this point. So we can't play the push things away, or I'm just going to float. Like, this is critical times, and this is a big time for the collective to step up and to find that warrior. And Mars will help us with that. And it'll help us get back to our identity, get back to our ego in the right way so that we can move forward. But we have to remember, too, with Chiron there, it's not the easiest thing. There's a lot of identity wounds that we're all working through as a collective, but we have to know who we are right now. Very important to be that critical so that you can see what's going on in your environment, what changes can be made, how to really pull up the deepest integrity within your soul to build right now. It's about how there's changes going on, and we cannot stop the change. Change is the only certainty we get in this reality other than the tropical zodiac. For all the sidereal people out there, yeah, your zodiac changes. It moves. Not tropical. It is always the same. Little plug for tropical astrology there, but that's all. That's the only constant we get in this universe is the solstices and the equinoxes and 0 Aries, which ironically is the start, and that's where we're seeing so much action this week, is, we are getting sprung into new stories. We are getting sprung into the change that we all signed up to be at in rare times. You can think about how many times over the past year I've said this is a once-in-a-lifetime transit, and other astrologers have. Well, we're starting to see what that story of that once-in-a-lifetime transit's going to bring, and this is where you got to be strong. You got to go. You got to get things done. And this is the best time to do it because Saturn isn't, retrograde yet. So Saturn going retrograde on the 4th is going to be like a big time to go back and make sure you were going into the right future with the right people. And it's not going to be about these new connections. It's going to be about what you already found and, putting that puzzle piece together. And it's already a very complicated puzzle in Aquarius. So it's not like it's just simple things here. Like, we're trying to really get into the deeper parts of the mainframe here, the matrix of our own existence and our identity. And this is it. This is start time. I know I've been saying that for a long time, but it's start the changes time with the sun, which is also sextile Mars. It's sextile Jupiter to start this week. And, those aren't exact. We just had those, but hey, we got to be willing to expand life right now. We got to be willing to be strong so that we can be sharp and critical, so that we can be, intellectually sound within our mind, so that we can, at least in our own mental capacity, know that we're moving into directions that we know we need to. And it can feel like a lot of things are getting cut away. Mars is a cutting agent. So we haven't seen Mars in Aries in 2 years. And last time we did, it came in there and it retrograded and it squared Pluto and it squared Saturn. It did a lot of damage. And that's when, some really crazy things happen. You can even look back to right when Mars left Aries. That was January 6th, 2021. Which was a big day, but that was, when a lot of illusion was coming out about what was going on with the Capitol building, however you stand on that. Like, we didn't see the full story. We still don't know exactly what went down. So I'm not here to tell you what happened, but hey, that happened. We also saw when the inoculation was introduced and started coming out with Mars retrograde square Pluto. A lot of these things over these last 2 years, big events happened with Mars in Aries. So, hey, maybe some of that stuff's coming back up. We're going to have to kind of go through and cut out some BS and be like, really, where do we stand? Where do we identify with what's society? Because that's also Saturn in Aquarius. There's a lot about society. There's a lot about the world. Like, all of it is connected. So it's a big deal. But we are going to see Mars, of course, in Aries. It will sextile that Saturn in retrograde, and it will also square Pluto. That's another thing with Venus finishing up here in Aries. It is coming off the sextile to Saturn, but also going to square over to Pluto retrograde in Capricorn this week. So much, of our relationships that aren't going into the future, like, yeah, they're going to get cut away. They're not going to make it. But then we're also going to see where, deep bonds are really formed and where things are really going into the higher integrity of each person, getting back to the individual, making sure that everything's in alignment, finding the beauty through this transformation will, definitely get us further in life. It's like not, again, pointing the finger, being a victim, but taking responsibility for your life. And, you got to own up to that, and you got to own up to yourself and your choices. And that's the best way to get through this. And you don't have to do it, being mean to yourself or being mean to other people, or getting angry with yourself. It's actually pretty simple. It's going to be a lot of it's going to be about forgiveness, but also, staking your claim for who you are and owning that. And, it's going to be hard. People are going to be, there's going to be a lot of upset energy coming, and maybe it stems from big things happening in the world. I wouldn't be surprised if something wild happens tonight, especially, if you look at the eastern countries of the world, when Mars comes into Aries, it's not going to be, 7 o'clock p.m. when everything's kind of shutting down on the west coast of the United States, or even later on the east coast. Like, it's going to be not Monday morning. It's going to be Wednesday morning. So we're in the midst of, before I am doing this, like with Mars at 29 Pisces and the moon at, 28, 29 Pisces, like, get ready for some of the biggest chapter changes that we're gonna all feel and have to deal with and have to identify and find ourselves through, and see the deeper meaning and the deeper value and the deeper connections in life, and find that deeper alignment to ourselves. And every relationship has to be on that alignment, or you're going to start to see them fade away. Like, this is going to be hard. This is a hard week for relationships, I'll be honest, because the ones that don't hold integrity are just going to get more toxic, more toxic. And the ones that are in alignment can actually have the deepest bonds and, have a lot of power. So you're going to see power couples emerge. You're going to see, if it's not that, you're going to see them, it's going to explode. And it's just very explosive energy. Remember, 0 Aries is where Uranus came in, and Jupiter ended up coming in right after that, and that was Fukushima. So there's a lot of heavy nuclear explosive energy, and Uranus is over there in Taurus, semi-squaring that 0 Aries point with this Ingress. It's just something unexpected is coming. And, Mars in Aries brings up fires. It brings up explosives. It brings up fights, war. I mean, all these things are we're already kind of seeing them in the world, like, show up. Like, well, this is when we get to see the defining force come through here and really show us what's going on. And it was where, the truth couldn't be suppressed anymore. So much about the truth is going to start coming out more and more and more. And I would say that there's been plenty of truth that has come out, lots of it. It's just about being able to see the truth when sometimes the truth wants to smack us in the face, and we don't want to, take that on. And we're going to have some strong egos with Mars in Aries, and especially with Venus coming into Taurus by the end of this week. We can also get very stubborn in our values and really hold on to, aspects, even though I would say the ego's trying to evolve right now, and we're trying to come into a more balanced, aligned version of ourselves to move forward and to go through changes and to accept change as a constant. There's also this energy of, like, especially with Mars and Jupiter, like, there's a lot of dogmatic energy. Like, I believe that this is what it is, and I'm sticking to it. And I think in certain cases, 100% that's going to be powerful for people, especially if it's with the integrity of your soul and that identity. I think integrity is so important as Pluto's finishing up in Capricorn. We're all at this point where it's like, oh my gosh, this is who I am really meant to be in this world. This is who I really am. And then there's also people that still are lost. And this is that cutting agent that is I would say, trying to really wake people up, building up to a new moon on Aldebaran to really, like, the light. And that Archangel Michael, which, you think about Archangel Michael too, he's got the sword and he cuts through all that isn't true. That's where we're at right now. And it's about, when truth shows up, don't suppress it, There's also Jupiter, being willing to learn. And even Mercury, with the trine over to Pluto, like, we really do have to learn what's really going on beneath the surface, especially within ourselves and our personal life, but also the world, and being able to identify with your defining force and of who you are and where that can go. But Venus, coming into Domicile too, does give us a strong connection to our values. It gives us a strong alignment to that. And, it wants to see the finer things in life. And the North Node's there, and Venus disposits the North Node. So, we are at this place too this week where we're seeing, like, money is going to be so important. We're already seeing, markets crashing, Bitcoin's crashing, NASDAQ, S&P 500. Tesla got taken off the S&P 500, ironically or non-ironically. We're big changes, money stuff that I've been talking about for a long time that, nobody really wants to focus on or pay attention to, or that would never happen. This is when it all starts happening. And Saturn's going to see if you prepared yourself well enough for your future with this retrograde. So it's not necessarily going to be like the most fun summer if you haven't been looking ahead, because that's Aquarius too. It's always looking ahead. It's always getting into where the future's going. If you're, someone that's just caught off guard by the stuff that's going to start showing up in life, and I guess monkeypox is a good example of that. Like, if you were caught off guard that was going to show up at some point, or there wasn't going to be another thing, get ready for where that's going to go, because none of this stuff is just over with. It's like you either see where things look like they're going and you're preparing for where that can go and how to still hold your sovereign values and your identity, or you are going to be a number. And that's a hard one to say, but, we definitely are trying to not, I would say that my job here is to tell people that you are so much more than just a number, in somebody's little, algorithm, sovereign soul. And it's fine if it's the sovereign choice to be that. I think that a lot of people are meant to be that. I'm not saying there's a right or a wrong, but I do think that people that are attracted here are ones that, want to live a life that is more unique and individuated to the purpose of whatever their mission is here. And I would say with my North Node being in Aquarius and my Moon being in Aquarius with my North Node, that, I'm definitely here to show people how to be an individual and how to break out of a system. So I'm not trying to rub people the wrong way, but that's just kind of where I'm at with my life, my mission, So I want everybody to make their own choices. I'm not trying to tell people how to live their life. And I would say that any force that is telling you how to define your life and live your life right now, probably not the right one. Again, I don't know, but that's just my intuitive feeling. Just your life is unique to you, and you're going to have to define it as such with the right people, right connections. This is a big week for getting that truth so that you can really feel comfortable in who you are and realize that you have the capacity right now to create, and that it's okay to let things go that aren't, showing up, or that aren't there, or that aren't helping your life right now. If things are just an intensity in your life that aren't furthering your life, there's a reason that it's trying to leave, or people are trying to leave, or jobs, or, there's certain things that are just not meant to be any longer. They don't hold value, and they're not part of your uniqueness, and accepting that is a big deal. So money's going to be a big deal. Value is going to be a big deal. What does that mean in your life? I still go through that with myself. Like, what is valuable right now? Is it the dollar bill? Is it crypto? Is it, probably none of that. Probably the most valuable thing in life right now is your confidence and perseverance to live a life that brings you happiness. And that's the hard part of the program, is we all think that it takes money, dollar bills, to have some kind of prestige, and that's especially in society, and that's Pluto finishing up here in Capricorn. That whole system of what it took to get to the top is getting reworked and towering so that it can be rebuilt. So I don't know, we're all in this place of having to really figure out what the value that will liberate you will be, and to really hold on to what that is on a deeper soul level and get a deeper understanding, especially with Mercury and that trine to Pluto, which it will trine again as it comes back to the conjunction with Algol at 26 degrees by June 3rd and sits there and turns direct. And, that's going to be with great mental power comes that great value in life. But also, it can go into a really dark place too. And, we have to realize we can't slip any longer. This is a time to get your footing. This is a time to make changes for value and for things that you think can really amplify your life. Because Mars and Jupiter this week and coming into next week, this is a big boost of energy. But it's also very almost... it's with Jupiter here, the guru. It's like people are going to try and tell you there's only one way to live life right now, and that's simply not going to fly. And that's the semi-square to Uranus, is you're going to have to liberate yourself. You're going to have to liberate yourself to your story and be okay that it might not be what we grew up thinking it was going to be, but you have to have that confidence to know your worth, and that you can always manifest worth in life. But you have to know that you can, and you have to define that worth. And if you're a warrior and defining your direction in your life, you're on the right page, you're on the right path, my friends. And everything's going to work out. But it's not as easy as that, because everything's moving towards Chiron, which is now at 15 Aries. So, we really have to be able to do that deep work on ourselves, that deep healing within our egos, to realize that it's okay to define. It's okay to be strong. It's okay to be exactly who you are. It's okay to make choices for yourself. You don't have to let people dictate your life. You know, it is a big time of stepping up into your authority as an individual. And that is huge. So, and I think many are on that. So I don't, think you need to trip, but oh boy, are we going to feel this week. And, it's Gemini season 2. It's worth being excited about. We are going to see a dark moon in Taurus. And, if we're going to get a dark moon anywhere, it might as well be with an exalted moon. But it is going to square Saturn. It's going to meet with Uranus and the North Node. This week is not comfortable. It starts off really with like a crazy ingress into Aries with Mars, and then meets with Jupiter, and everything's expanded, and we're seeing everything, we're feeling everything, and then it meets with Chiron. It's like, oh gosh, this is who I am, or this is what I have to do to define my life. Then it does come into Taurus, but it's got to deal with a lot there too. And it's also got to square Pluto before it gets there. And we're realizing so many things of value have to get cut away and have to dissolve and have to wane out of our life, just as the moon is waning into a new moon to start waxing and building the truth and the information in our lives. And it's gonna take decisions. It's gonna take a really bossing up for seeing where your future's going and seeing that you have to fix it. You have to change things. It's hard too, because we can think, oh, we're doing everything right. And it can be that we are doing everything that we consciously think is right, but that doesn't mean that it's going to show up, that life's just going to keep going in that direction. Like, we're all going to start to see new stories and new things kick off. And it could be stuff that's outside of you that we have to adapt to, or it can be stuff literally just in your personal life that could be a reflection of that, whether it's food shortages, money issues going really, really, really south, government controls, manipulation. That South Node's in Scorpio, disposited by this Pluto retrograde, coming back for a Pluto return of the United States that will happen July 10th. There's so many different factors, and even Mars, being another dispositor of that South Node, is now in Aries. So this is where people are going to want to hold on real tight to what used to be comfortable, or what used to give them some sense of power, and any type of control is not going to work well. This is really getting back to self-control. It's almost like self-mastery has to be next level right now. You have to realize you are the master of your life. And anytime that you think that you can't do something because of an outside situation or another person, you're giving your power away. And that's where you're going to have to be a warrior and really step up in life and define life right now. And that's going to be different for all of us. So it's definitely not one size fits all. Don't think because one person, they have to change their life that way that you do. What's your story? Who are you? Are you willing to expand that truth of who you really are, or is there a false, perception that we're hiding under of what the truth is because of some societal hierarchy or some control system or some government structure? These are the things that are going to be the hardest things to let go of with the way the South Node and Pluto are configured, and even Mars coming into Aries. We got to let go of things. We got to let things die so that things can be rebirthed. And that you can really find the confidence and the value and the stableness. Because that's one thing with Venus coming into Taurus is like, we have to get back to the finer things within ourselves. Know that we're really worth it, that we really have what we need, and how to, attract in more of what we need, but on our own, not looking for a handout. That's very Scorpio. Looking for outer power to come in and save you, looking for that to come in and boost you, manipulating people to get something from them. Like, that's not going to work. That's where you're going to see people trying to really steal from people, trying to steal energy. It's going to take people into a really bad place going that direction. Like, you have to know how to produce life right now for yourself. And be willing to start those things. So, a lot to talk about. I do want to show some things. This is very interesting. I just want to talk about it and show some dates. I stumbled upon this. It was sent to me. Very interesting things, and it has dates, and some of the dates already, just recently happened, and it's in regards to the whole monkeypox situation. So I'm going to look at some of these dates and go over what this kind of is, and then, look at the chart, because I think it's very interesting and something I want to share with you all. So take it as you will. It's just information. Maybe some people like it. Maybe I'm not saying that these people know the future or have it all figured out, but nonetheless, it's information. So this came out November of 2021. It was all about strengthening global systems to prevent and respond to high consequence biological threats, and it's from a 2001 tabletop exercise conducted in partnership with the Munich Security Conference. So in summary, in March 2021, NTI partnered with the Munich Security Conference to conduct a tabletop exercise on reducing high-consequence biological threats. The exercise examined gaps in national and international biosecurity and pandemic preparedness architectures, exploring opportunities to improve prevention and response capabilities for high-consequence biological events. This report summarizes the exercise scenarios, key findings from the discussion, and actionable recommendations for the international community. And it was done by these doctors. I can't highlight with my finger right now, but anyways, these people put this together, and they put a lot of work into it. Discussion among exercise participants led to the following key findings: weak global detection, assessment, and warning of pandemic risks, gaps in national level preparedness, gaps in biological researches, insufficient financing for international preparedness, lots of things. But the thing that I want to look at is this little table, and this was a discussion, was organized into 3 sequential moves corresponding with scenario developments, followed by a roundtable discussion of broader biosecurity and pandemic preparedness issues. The step-by-step approach to revealing scenario developments reflected the limitations of information available to real-world decision makers, as well as resulting uncertainty associated with a pandemic of unknown origin. So what I think is very interesting is that May 15th, 2020, and remember this was November of 2021, they put this out, and May 15th, they called it, I don't know exactly how they got that surveillance, but nonetheless, very accurate with what we're seeing at this current time. 4 deaths, no international warnings, starting to put it out there into the media, starting to get people talking about it. I've definitely put out some memes on Instagram. It's very interesting, to me at least. Anyways, if I go to Astro Gold and show you that, May 15th, which was the lunar eclipse in Scorpio. You guys might have been on my channel when I was talking about that. Nothing is going to hide. This is bringing everything out. So this is what got brought out on that eclipse. And kind of crazy. It's dealing with South Node Scorpio stuff, which I will also show you some other things about South Node Scorpio in case you didn't know. Which was in the 80s. So I think it was 85. Yeah, so that was 85 was with the South Node right about where it's at now. So really it was about 84 to 86 that we saw the South Node. Actually, I don't even want to put that, let's look at AIDS, because that was a big deal. Here, a timeline of AIDS and HIV. So really was the beginning of when a lot of that started coming out. But if we go to 84, U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Secretary Margaret Heckler announced that Dr. Robert Gallo and his colleagues at the National Cancer Institute have found the cause of AIDS, a retrovirus they have labeled HTLV2. Heckler also announced the development of diagnostic blood tests to express that a vaccine against AIDS would be produced within 2 years. New York Times reports that new scientific evidence raised possibility that AIDS may also be transmissible through saliva. That wasn't true. So there wasn't, they were trying to figure things out. But of course, really, what really came out is they were really saying it was gay men, right? That's also what's coming out right now about monkeypox, gay men. So we're seeing this South Node Scorpio bring back some of this type of energy. Avoiding injection and drug use and reducing needle sharing, blah, blah, blah. 1985. Definitely a lot more information came out in 1985. So this is, basically the point I'm getting at is that this is, bringing back some of this. Rock Hudson, who played a leading roles in 60 Hollywood films, announced he had AIDS. He was the first major U.S. public figure to do so. It was getting big. Ronald Reagan mentioned it for the first time. Morbidity and Mortality Weekly report includes delaying pregnancy until more is known about the risks of the trans. So they told people not to get pregnant and to avoid breastfeeding. Interesting that we're going through that sort of issue right now with baby formula. So, look, I'm just saying there was a lot going on in this time period. Last time South Node was in Scorpio with AIDS. And a big part of it was, of course, that, it was homosexuals were transmitting it. Which anybody could have transmitted it, but it was, bigger in that area. So, big deal, nonetheless. So here we are dealing with that same kind of energy. I'm going to go back to now. And this is where, even as I ran this chart, the moon was right where that South Node was, just on the previous chart. But it is still South Node Scorpio. So we're dealing with fears around death and sex. And that's where they're pointing this to right now. But is that the truth? It's a Mercury retrograde too. Is that what's really going on? Because they said that, HIV could be transmitted through saliva. Was that true? No, it turned out to be false. So we're going to start to see a bunch of things start to come out more about that. It's not going away. I'll tell you that much. I think many people get it now. But there's also Mars-Neptune conjunct in Pisces. And I was saying this is where we're extremely susceptible. We're extremely susceptible to a spell, to manipulation, to not having our identity figured out. So this is where people in the world didn't get it. Jupiter in that 0 point, Mars is coming to cut through. So there's even more of that. The moon's right at, as I'm talking, going to come over this by tonight. Sun starting to trine over to Pluto. So much is starting to come out. And I just thought that was an interesting, kind of first date. But, coming back over to this, then it goes to June 5th, so that's coming up a day after Saturn goes retrograde. And again, I don't think this is necessarily like some prophecy, but I do think that the dates, since we have dates into the future of stuff, it's very interesting to look at transits. So I will just say that I think that's very interesting. Don't necessarily know if this is the end all be all, and I'm not trying to claim it as such. But June 5th, Saturn retrograde, 25 degrees of Aquarius, one day after. But we do have Mercury direct now. Mercury is with Algol, the demon star, Medusa, the eye of the bull. So, we can also be very, I would say, sharp in knowing our value and knowing our power and knowing how to get out of this and knowing our deeper integrity and soul here. But it's very interesting also seeing Venus get right to that spot where we had the solar eclipse in Taurus, which dealt with a lot of money. You started seeing the stock market really take a hit for that solar eclipse. And it's right there in that, by the end of Sunday, June 5th, Venus will be where that solar eclipse took place. So it's very interesting. We're going to see more stuff. This is, and they're talking even in this other article, right, about, early risk and assessment. So it'll be interesting. But January 10th is where it gets even weirder, astrologically. So January 10th, we start to see Saturn back to almost where it's at because it'll be direct at that time. And the North Node will be at 10, right where Venus was for the first one. So there's something about this 10-degree spot of Taurus that is, becoming a big deal. And Mercury's going to retrograde and trine that spot from Capricorn. And also make good aspects to the North Node. Jupiter will be back right, at the same kind of spot that it's at after it has already retrograded back into Pisces, and it will be with Juno, but also still in semi-square to Uranus, which will be back in retrograde at 15 degrees because it's going to come to 18 degrees and meet with the North Node over this summer. And also, Pluto is going to be direct and heading towards Aquarius, which it'll be at for the next chart that I'm going to show you. But this is where we're really seeing the big moves, it looks like. And the big moves look like this, January 10th. If this is true, see, this is all speculation. I'm just saying, speculation, but it's very interesting to me. 83 countries affected, 70 million cases, 1.3 million dead. So, very interesting. Monkeypox engineered to be vaccine resistant. So, again, it's kind of one of those things where smallpox had a vaccine too, and that didn't, work, and it actually caused more harm than good. And I'm not here to be some anti-vaxxer, and most of you know where I stand with the COVID one, and I'm not even going to go there, but obviously this is something I'm not considering for myself. National response effects of early action in international supply chain challenges. So this is where we start to see some really weird money aspects, and it's going to be at that 10-degree Taurus. So even if we don't see like complete weird shortages or supply chain issues, it looks like they're on the horizon, and that's part of this. It's part of this cycle that we're in right now. And Uranus and Taurus at these degrees, like that was, Great Depression times. So, we got to be mindful of that as well and be able to sustain ourselves. Key issues, benefits of predetermined triggers for national response, international supply chain challenges. I would say with Uranus here, semi-square, exactly at 15 degrees, semi-square the 0 point of Aries, we're dealing with that for the next year. That's a very big thing. And with Jupiter in that spot too, we're in this Jupiter semi-square Uranus for a while. So just when you think you have a story figured out, zap, nope, change. In the most fixed sign, if you will, of fixed Earth of Taurus with Uranus there and meeting with the North Node, there is no stability right now. The only stability is your ability to adapt. And Mars will be retrograde in Gemini, which is going to be, really cutting away a lot of the bullshit. It's going to be really figuring out who you are and how to make quick changes, and it's going to make us better when it's done, but it's got to go through squaring Neptune as it stations. It's got to go, trine Saturn as it stations. It's got big things that it's got to go through there too. And that square to Neptune when it stations, people are going to be extremely vulnerable. So we come to that first quarter square where in that first chart we saw Mars Neptune conjunct on May 15th. And now, we come to this point in January 10th of 2023, and we're seeing, coming off of the square and a retrograde where Mars is going to even have to come back. This is very vulnerable. This is actually, when I look at the chart, I'm like, wow, this actually looks like we could be very susceptible. A lot of it's mental susceptibility too. Do you conform to this? I think, that's where we're having to redefine and re-emerge what our values are and what our boundaries are. And I would say the South Node in Scorpio is helping with that, because we have to, make sure that our mental boundaries are strong so that we're not susceptible to the spells that go on, but also looking at the facts and the truth. And that's where it can get really, really weird, because if you think about what we just went through over the last 2 years, there was so many lies behind that nobody knows what exactly is true about that whole situation. And some people got it, some people didn't. I don't know. I don't know very many people that were affected by it. Some people know a bunch of people that were affected by it. It's very strange. It was very unique, and not normal, and not something that I would say just a blanket statement can go, and cover. But this one potentially has the recipe to be more serious. And I don't want to scare people, but damn, and what does it have to, and what's in relation to what already happened with the past 2 years? Because I think that's going to play a part too. And that's even Jupiter getting ready to make squares over to Pluto. After it conjuncted with Pluto in Capricorn with Saturn in 2020 and really kickstarted this new story, we're finally starting to see some big aspects come from that. And the next day is May 10th, which is, basically a year from now in 2023. That's even crazier because, Pluto's in Aquarius. That's new. Haven't seen that in our lives. It is, going to retrograde back into Capricorn at the end of 2023, but dang, talk about a big shift. And the moon will come through, and that'll be the first time we see the moon in Pluto. Maybe it'll be the first time. Let's look. It might be the second time. Yeah, it'll be the second time we see the moon come over Pluto in Aquarius. But nonetheless, that is a big shift of what we're going to start seeing Pluto uncover within the collective, within technology, and where society's trying to go. And is society going into some crazy utopian world, or are we actually going to have to really break away from where things are going and really go, this is going to bring up a lot of rebellious energy. but we're going to have to figure out what we're rebelling for. The sun's going to meet with Uranus at 18 degrees, and that's where the Uranus and the North Node are going to meet in Taurus this year. So there's a lot of energy there that needs to be like looked at too with Uranus. There's just so much unpredictability and so much change to our physical life and money and value that it's crazy coming to that point and seeing really where the future's going. And if we go back to this, May 10th is, I mean, it's kind of crazy to look at these numbers, but it's like 480 million cases, set 27 million deaths. I mean, maybe the real, maybe not. I don't know. Revelation of a terror group origins. So actually maybe seeing the uncovered like truth about what terror group is behind these things or behind this biolab. And then the key issues are biosecurity and governance of dual use bioscience research, whatever that means. Crazy. And the next date's December 1st of 2023 that they have here. But it's interesting too that Mercury retrograde in this chart will be covering that 10 degree range of Taurus. There's just so much going on at that 10 degree, which I'm going to look up the 10th degree Sabian symbol because I'm pretty curious. But this is also Pluto getting ready to square off with Jupiter, which we'll see later in 2023, December 1st. Sun and Taurus, kind of funny. I mentioned how the Sun is going to be conjunct Aldebaran for this upcoming new moon, and we get that. Mars is going to head towards that, but it'll take a little longer. And we're seeing Jupiter at Taurus, which I haven't looked, but where does Jupiter go retrograde in Taurus? Jupiter will retrograde around 15 degrees of Taurus. So yeah, Jupiter retrograde is going to cover where Uranus is at now, semi-square that Jupiter, and the moon's even going to come in there, but then come back over that 10 degree of Taurus. So there's something about that 10 degree Taurus spot that I find very, very interesting. And we're going to see Uranus in that third decan, but coming back, so it's already going to be in that area. Really weird times. Really unpredictable times. And Pluto's going to be back in Capricorn at where we saw it go retrograde this last year, 28. Getting ready to finally leave Capricorn for good in 2024. And we're seeing Saturn come into Pisces and be done in Aquarius. And Neptune's at that same degree that it's been at for a while, but retrograde. So, and we're going to see Pluto square the nodes in 2023. When the nodes come into Aries and Libra, and that's going to be a big transformation with a lot of focus on integrity and getting also back to your personal life and, you know, redefining the foundation from within so that you can commit to something within yourself. And it's going to not be about what you're being told to do or being passive with the South Node in Libra, but really being strong and identified and on it. And this, I think this Mars transit through Aries is going to be a big help in getting to that, and even the retrograde in Gemini, which will be the Mars return to the United States with a retrograde, and also the Pluto return exact with a retrograde coming in July. We're just seeing so many changes take place. Like nothing that you thought the 2020s were going to be like previous are going to show up, and this stuff's crazy with the dates and like what this next thing is, because you're already seeing the World Economic Forum, of course, hinting at this stuff, and then these people who did this research paper and they're doctors, and I don't know if they got it right or not, I'll be honest, but again, it's just information. Do what you want with it. But by December 1st of 2023, 271 million deaths from this. Global differences in national responses contribute to significantly variable outcomes, and international financing for pandemic preparedness measures to strengthen national pandemic preparedness. And then they go into more. They go into a lot of information. I don't know. I just think with Jupiter coming back to square Pluto and that being such a heavy influence, and Saturn here in Aquarius, like the big choices and decisions about beliefs and what you believed was true, these are going to be important, I think, spiritually and in the direction people are going in life. However that correlates to what I just showed you, but we all had to, make big choices at some point in our life. So we're at that point now where we're still making these choices, and we just saw good aspects from Jupiter to Pluto, which was the sextile. So this is really like building off of that story, and trusting yourself and believing in yourself and being a warrior right now for what value is to you, and building a life around that, and realizing that there's not a whole lot of time. It can feel like, yes, it's time to go, but that's going to be hard with a Mars in Aries trying to go and not even think about things, but just act instinctually. And Venus coming into Taurus, and Mercury is going to station direct in Taurus, and we're going to want these things, and Saturn's going to go direct and say, you should have been going after these things the whole time. So this is like the last call to like really get things dialed up for your future, and to not sit around and wait. There's no more passive energy. It's very, you better go, so that summer school doesn't take, all your fun away with Saturn on June 5th going retrograde. So, what are you guys up to? What's going on in the chat? There's a couple people in here. Hello, Queenie, Phoenix Risen, Violet Ann, Wendy, nice to see you. Heidi, hello. Nice to see you. And Jenny, nice to see you too. What's being released at WF is certainly disturbing as expected. Yeah, it's so disturbing. These things are just interesting. The astrology is crazy coming up. Oh, I do want to look at I do want to look at the Sabian symbols. SabianSymbols.com, why not? I don't have like a go-to Sabian symbol site, but this will do. I suppose I could show you what I'm looking at. I want to find him. Show me the symbols. ASMR, show me the symbols. Degree. So we're going to do Taurus. And I want to do, they're using 0, so I'll go 10. Yeah, Taurus 11, that's right. Cool. A person sprinkling long rows of flowers. This symbol shows the need to take time to nurture your physical self. The mind needs to take a rest, and the body needs to be allowed to come to full bloom and bask a little in the light. Keeping an eye on things that you are responsible for will ensure that you don't dry out and fade away ahead of or before their time. Weeding out undesirable factors will be a necessary part of the process, as will tending to those who cannot or will not look after themselves. Quiet moments of tender care can enliven others and allow them to grow. Nurture and fertilize creativity, external evidence of internal beauty, looking after small details to reap the rewards later. Not drinking enough water, stopping to smell the roses. Giving superficial attention just to keep up appearances. Giving up on projects halfway through. Neglect of things once they're established. Water restrictions. Wow. Well, I think this is very fitting, especially when with all the stuff that's going on there and the eclipse that we had, and that solar eclipse lasts 6 months. Remember, like, it's important. And even after that eclipse, with North Node, Uranus is done there, but just all that other stuff that I was looking at and showing you. Weeding out undesirable factors will be a necessary part of the process, as will tending to those who can't or will not look after themselves. So that's going to be part of, like, people are going to be the greatest value. That's Saturn in Aquarius too. Quiet moments of tender care can enliven others and allow them to grow. It's all about nurturing and fertilizing your creativity. Keeping an eye on things that you are responsible for will ensure that they don't dry out and fade away. You just have to be responsible for yourself, and that will help nurture others. Interesting stuff. Preparedness is key. Can't be scared of the future. 100%, Sandra. TZ7672, hello. I saw that shooting. There's going to be, like with Jupiter now in Aries and Mars in Aries, like, we haven't seen that in a long time. I don't even know if Mars was there when we saw Jupiter there 10 years ago, but I will look that up because I'm kind of curious, and it was brought up. Where is Big Jupe? I guess I can share this. So Jupiter is coming back in. Like, where? And then where was Mars? So Mars was over there in Leo. Like, we might not have saw Jupiter in Aries with Mars last time it was there. It's going to be, this is amplified war, aggression, anger. That's the negative side. I'm just saying, when we're looking at the world right now and kind of how crazy things are already getting with inflation and robberies and shootings, it's just a lot, All right, so there's Jupiter in Pisces. Jupiter leaving Pisces with Uranus. That was coming into Fukushima. And yeah, I don't think Mars had anything to do with that transit. Oh yeah, cool. Mars did. So yeah, this is bringing us back to wow, look at that, 22 degrees square, where Saturn and Pluto, Mercury and the Sun met at 22 Capricorn. May 1st, 2021. I want the Wikipedia. Let's just say Wikipedia just makes it easy. And we will go to May. Announced that they killed Osama bin Laden. Maybe there's something like that with Putin. Who knows? Some bailout stuff for Portugal. European financial stabilization mechanism. So we saw a tornado, and a big tornado. Wow. In Missouri, but that's pretty common from what I know about tornadoes. So I think the big stuff that was going on was like all the Al-Qaeda stuff, and it was dealing with war stuff, which is typical. So we're seeing more of that. More war stuff. Can you believe it? I can. Oh, weeding the garden. Nice. Oh, you're welcome. I like going live and talking with you guys, for sure. Yeah, it's almost over. Almost done with the live. Biden pledged to support Taiwan. Yeah, good luck with that. Yeah. So anyways, that's my little presentation for today, or this week. I appreciate you guys for watching. It's a big week. This is definitely going to start kickstarting everything in a big way. It's like the numbing and the sedation's coming off with all the Pisces energy that we're leaving and coming into Aries. It's everything's going to be very easily defined and seen on a way that we're not necessarily used. We can get used to that kind of feeling. So tornadoes weren't that common. I don't know. They got Tornado Alley out there. Look, I'm born and raised in California. I don't even know what a tornado looks like. I'm just kidding. I've seen them, but definitely not something I can say I know a lot about. Thank you, Carrie. Yeah, Don't Trip's gonna be a blast. Hopefully, geez, who knows where things are going. But still planning on it, and it'll be a blast if we all get out there. It's hard to plan even just a couple weeks ahead these days. It's like, well, planning on it, maybe. If the universe allows, then I will be there. All right, what we get this week? High Priestess, definitely going to have to use that psychic ability within us to see through illusion, to see the truth, to connect both sides, the spiritual and the physical here. And, I also, not be under someone else's spell. Like, make sure you're casting the spell for your life this week. And, taking responsibility for whatever that may be and not letting someone else kind of tell you how to do it. I think that's another message that I got for this. And then the Three of Pentacles in reverse. It's just teamwork's great, work with people, but it's going to be one of those weeks where you got to pay attention to what your focus is, what you're building, what you're doing, and making sure that people are on the right team with you and on the right page, and that you're in an individual place. Or everything's coming from an individual desire to do the same thing. Don't just build things with people if you're not like actually invested in like that's part of your mission and it feels like a hell yes. So pay attention to where people are trying to get you to work on their stuff. If you're not like actually wanting to build that too, then don't, fall for some spell. Like, this is going to be a powerful defining time. Define your way. Don't let someone else define it for you. And the Ace of Wands in reverse. Wow, in reverse. I don't know. We don't want to be scared of starting things. We don't want to be scared of like initiating a life and creating a life that does bring wow factor. It's definitely there. It's just you're going to have to go your way. Your way knows the wow factor. Whatever is being told of what you have to do to find that is likely going to, make you feel like you're trying to do something that's never going to come to completion, or like it doesn't have any spiritual alignment. Eight of Swords in reverse. I like this because this card reverse is definitely showing that, instead of sitting around doing nothing, you can go out and enjoy your life. And you don't have to be, constricted to whatever you get stuck in your own mind. Like, free yourself this week. Go out, do life, initiate life, be a warrior for the change that you want to see, to find more happiness and to get more of the light in your life that you want to see. And, hopefully that's very helpful. And of course, as far as like the week goes with the astrology, I will be here every day to talk about that. And I appreciate you all very much. Thank you so much for sending that tip to get me to $10. I really appreciate that. I wonder why I wouldn't let you do it once. Oh no. Yeah. Instagram lives. They're a thing. There seems to be arguments that happen there. Anyways. All right. Appreciate you all. I'm going to get out of here. I'm going to get the tarot up. And yeah. Also, I'll see you for Wednesday's horoscope tomorrow, and I hope that this was, something interesting to watch and to realize that, wow, some of the biggest new beginnings are literally starting, and you're going to feel them more intense than you might have ever thought tonight. And we could have already been feeling change and going through stuff. Well, that whole story is getting illuminated and pronounced in a huge way, and you just got to stay in your truth and make sure that you're focused on your environment and your what you're trying to build right now, and you're going to be just fine. But look into the future and try not to get worried about it. Try not to get upset about what the future might be, but just be aware. And that objective awareness will be good because you can turn it off and focus on yourself, but you can get in and find pieces of information that you deem valuable for where you're going, and put things together in a way that makes sense for you. All right, I love you all very much. I will catch you all next time. Much love. Peace.